Hey, everybody, welcome to TGC Radio. I'm your host, Jonathan, and joining me today is a contributing writer from our website, Dylan. How are you today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Just been enjoying the weather and the free time.
Yeah, and you have a review coming up soon on the website, right?
Yeah. Hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed, I can have it up tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, it'll be exciting about Wild Rift, League of Legends. Look forward to it.
Yeah. So, whenever that gets published, guys, definitely check out the website. Go read that review. Dylan's been hard at work on it. So we've got a few stories to cover today. The first one is for anybody who wants to add to their collection of Blizzard merch. Blizzard has started a new limited series of collectibles called From the Vault, and it's going to be releasing new collectibles from now until this November. And each month they'll release a new set of collectibles like concept art and statues, and every month the ones that were on sale for the previous month will no longer be available, and then they'll release a new set of collectibles that are available for that month. And each month it's a different franchise that Blizzard owns, supposedly. So I don't know. That looks pretty cool. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I'm actually looking at the picture of the Prince Arthas one, I believe.
It's either
Lich King Prince
I
Arthas.
think it's the Lich King. I'm not huge into WoW lore or story, but I do believe that is Lich King Arthas.
And
Um,
it looks pretty impressive. It's 26 inches, which is pretty tall for a collectible. I had to say so myself. I think
hmm
it's pretty neat, especially how they're gonna try to feature more than just one series. So it's not just like, hey, we're celebrating one game and releasing this for like a year. No, they're celebrating a lot of their games, and Blizzard has a plethora of franchises to choose from. So I feel like it's gonna really hit well, not just with WoW fans, as we just said, they have a statue coming up. But any Blizzard game fans, as for the popular games in Blizzard, they're probably going to see a statue of their game pop up here and there. So,
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it is a very high quality statue. So for anybody who's a fan, I do know. I have a friend who loves WoW. I know that the Lich King is a fan favorite character uh, for fans of WoW. So I bet a lot of people are really excited about this, and it's like $1,100.
yeah, I did see that. So I definitely think this caters more to like the super fans who likely already have collectibles as opposed to, let's say, someone who's trying to get into collecting. But I mean, especially with like games like WoW and whatnot, they have such a established fan base that I don't think it's unfeasible to think that the sales on this will be poor because
hmm
they do have like the really big fans, and then for those really fan favorite characters, this is something that a lot of those people are going to be excited to see and happy to add to the collection.
Yeah, like usually things that are $1,100 either like really high quality statues like this, or they're like action figures that have a lot of points of articulation that you can use to pose them in a lot of different ways. They usually come with stands or accessories. I say that because I like because I used to collect stuff too. I used to collect action figures. I still collect pops. Have you ever seen the pop bobbleheads that like Hot Topic or GameStop or Books a Million?
Oh yeah, I always see them in Books a Million because I'm usually hanging around that section of the store. So pretty neat.
Yeah,
I like them.
I love them. I have a huge collection back at my parents' house, but here in my apartment, I have Diva from Overwatch, but I have two
Hmm.
bobbleheads of Diva. I have one where she's like in her regular outfit, and then there's one where if you've ever played the Busan map in Overwatch, and that's the Korean map, the South Korean map. Uh,
Yeah.
that there's like posters of Diva in soda ads, and she's wearing like a different outfit that's like a green aesthetic. I have a bobblehead of
Hmm.
that because it's like exclusive. I don't remember where it's from, and then I have Reaper. So
Oh yeah,
yeah, I'm no
I
stranger to
gotcha.
Blizzard merch.
Mhm.
So I'm actually looking forward to seeing like what they do with Overwatch collectibles because they already have, I believe, an Overwatch line of action figures that are like your standard like $30 6-inch collectible action figures.
Mhm.
Um, like I think there's one of Widowmaker that I can think of, but yeah, have you ever collected anything like this at all?
I'm trying to think. Probably. I don't remember really being super huge on collecting um, action figures. I was really into trading cards. I was like very
Hmm.
into collecting that. And when I was really younger, I was really into collecting particular Lego sets. Uh,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, funny enough, I ended up dropping that hobby for collecting trading cards. And then I've been on and off about that just because right now I don't have as much space in my apartment to really collect much because
Oh
where am I
yeah.
going to put it? I don't know. But I do have my fair share of collection in both of those categories at home.
Yeah. That's actually why my collection here at my apartment is so limited. There's just not enough space to have, pops everywhere as much as I would
Yeah.
love to. Uh,
Hmm.
but the pops are also cheap too. They're only like $12. That's why I like
I
collecting
know.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
you
I've
wait.
always thought about getting some because I mean they
Yeah,
have so many pops for like everything. It's
it's
pretty cool.
insane.
I like that.
Yeah, I if you have you ever been to like a comic book or toy convention?
No, I've been to plenty of comic book stores, but never a convention.
Okay, if you go to a convention and if there's people selling toys, there's always going to be, it never fails. There's always going to be a vendor there. And it's going to be a guy who has like a whole wall made of pops just behind
Oh my god, that's
him.
great.
Like I remember I went to one convention and there were like there was a vendor there. I they had like it was kind of like three walls of pops together to make a square, but one of the sides
Damn.
was empty, so you could actually walk in there. So I was just surrounded by pop figures, looking around it. And they're not all $12 because some of them are rare or some of them are like no longer being made, so they're like way
Hmm.
more expensive. Uh,
Yeah, mm,
yeah,
figured.
yeah, it's
That's pretty
cool.
neat.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, but other than collectibles, there's another story that's come out recently about an upcoming. Supposedly, it's a real-time live-action horror video game, and it's called Ghosts. And I watched the trailer on the tweet from the guy who is he's directing the game. He's directing and writing. Um,
Uh-huh.
like so it was the trailer for it is basically like a little sequence of all the I guess actresses and actors who are going to be playing in the game saying, yeah, it kind of sounds like a little bit like Telltale, but a lot more intense. Like it's a horror game, and you're watching these people who are supposedly, ghost hunters go into like a haunted locale or building, and then you have to basically guide them and tell them what to do as everything's happening. Like there's no pausing like in Telltale or something like that. I think you just have to make really quick decisions, and there's no like indicators of exactly what you need to do. You just have to decide for them, and they could die in horrible ways depending on what you do.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that sounds pretty intense compared to those types of games normally. I feel like they're usually don't really cater for the horror game audience. So I feel like that could be interesting. It could be interesting. It could also be made really poorly, where like decisions are not as important as they should be. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a really cool concept, and
Hmm.
they need to just make sure. Yeah, it's cool. I
It
like it. I like horror games, so I'll see how it is when it comes out.
it's definitely a novelty horror game. Like it's not a traditional horror game like say Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
It's something that's trying to like because what they said in the trailer was that they're trying to do a callback to like 90s CD-ROM games where you'd have to like click
Mhm.
and decide, make decisions. But it's like the next level, like the next step up. And the other thing that's crazy about this is like they're saying that you can only play the game at 10 p.m. in your local time zone.
Okay, that might be weird. I feel like they could probably toss that away. I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to like up the scare factor by having people play at night, but it
I
seems
mean,
a
I
little
think
unique.
yeah, I think it'd be funny if they did like a 3 a.m. Say you can only play it at 3 a.m. A 3 a.m. challenge.
Oof. Oh my gosh, that would. I mean, the older audience would probably appreciate that because they're like, "Ah, I'm already up then. Sure, why not?" But the younger audience, people who are still in their teens or even younger people who like horror games, they probably won't be nearly as happy about that just because,
Yeah.
maybe they have to go to sleep or stuff like that. Or even people who have jobs, people who are like, I can't stay up to 3 a.m. just to
Yeah.
play a game. But I don't know. That's an interesting requirement to say the least.
Yeah. Um, and apparently you'll be like the actors are going to be searching for evidence of some creature or entity called the Long Lady.
Mm.
And I know in the trailer, they were like, supposedly if you look at the Long Lady, you die. And I'm like, that just sounds like that. So do you know SCP Foundation, like that stuff with all the cryptoids?
No, not really.
Oh, okay. So, well, basically, there's this whole online, uh, like community of people that write these stories called SCP Foundation. It's about this
Hmm.
like government agency that finds these uh, creepy or evil creatures and tries to contain them. And one of them is like, if you look at it, it will kill you. Like it will find you and kill you, no matter like where you are. If you look
Yeah.
directly at it, even if it's like on a security camera or something, it will get to where you are and kill you. Nothing can stop it.
Damn.
Yeah, so that's what kind of reminded me of is that. Yeah, so there's some nightmare fuel for you.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, geez, I don't even want to think about it. It's
Yeah,
like fun.
yeah, it's very fun. But yeah, that's a cool little game. Seems like a really weird niche novelty game, but it'll be
Hmm.
interesting at least.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's gonna have a place in the industry for sure, and just because of how unique it is, lots of people are gonna want to try it out at least first, and whether or not they stay with it depends on how well it is. But it'll be cool to see how it turns out.
Yeah, and the next big news story is that Deathloop, the PS5 exclusive, I believe it's a PS. Well, it's either PS4 or PS5 exclusive, one of the two.
Hmm.
Um, it got delayed again. It was supposed to
Uh,
come out on May 21st, and now it's coming out on
mm,
September 14th. So,
dang. Well, honestly, after like we've seen quite a few games not be up to par. I mean, especially like something like Cyberpunk most recently, where they got delayed and delayed, and then they kind of forced it out. Still, I think it's nice that they are delaying it. I do know that PlayStation in general, they have their fair share of exclusives where I think fans aren't going to be like, this is our one exclusive we're missing out on, unlike Xbox, where they're like, oh yeah, we were going to have Halo when next gen came out. That didn't happen. Still not out. And so PlayStation fans could probably wait. I don't remember Deathloop having that big of a fan base. I mean, I've heard people talk about it, and I've seen the trailer, and it looks like a pretty cool game, pretty neat little concept. Um, and it
mhm.
has a really, really nice little art style as well. But I feel like that the delay is ultimately going to help it better in the long run, as they're, you know, setting up the game and making sure it doesn't come out nearly as buggy. Because let's say they did release it in May, and they
Mhm.
knew whatever is causing the delay was there, it probably wouldn't be good because that would mean like a month from now they would release it after they already know, like, wow, this game is not working well. And
Yeah,
yeah, that would just ruin any chances they have at making the game seem good at launch. So I
right.
I like this move, but We'll see how it turns out. Still.
I think 9 times out of 10, delaying a game is good.
Hmm.
What happened with Cyberpunk was that the year it was supposed to come out, it was not even ready at all. That's why it was delayed so many times, is because the game was
Yeah.
nowhere near ready for the original launch day. So, despite it being delayed over and over and over again and having crunch, I think that game as a whole was just horribly mismanaged.
Yeah.
Horribly. Like, from what I've read about it. So, but other than that, exception. 9 times out of 10, yeah, delays are good. They help the game, they make it better for, at launch. Um, for example, the one I can think of is Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal was supposed to come out in November of 2019, and then they
Hmm.
delayed it to March 2021. Oh, sorry, 2020. I hope Doom Eternal didn't come out a month ago.
Yeah.
um, yeah, but it came out in March 2020 instead, and the game was very polished, ran very well. I remember playing it, and the frame rate was just buttery smooth. And
Hmm.
what they said in November was that we want to take time to polish the game and make sure it's good. And that's what they did. It looks like. Um, so it's always good. And but with Deathloop specifically, I don't know how excited people are for it.
Yeah.
I had not even heard of this game until last year when Bethesda was bought by Microsoft, because one of the things that people were worried about was that this Deathloop is being published by Bethesda, and so they own the
Hmm.
studio developing it. So people were saying, okay, now that Microsoft owns this studio and this IP, are they gonna stop it from being an exclusive on PlayStation 4 now? Which Microsoft came out, were like, any games that we happen to acquire and they were scheduled to be exclusives for Sony, we're not going to change that, which is good. Um,
Yeah. Thankfully.
but I remember, that was the only time I ever heard about this game up until that. And uh, but I mean, I definitely think you're right about saying that I don't think anyone's going to be super upset about this delay, because I mean, most people who are fans of Sony exclusives usually care a lot more about something like God of War, right? Like the next God
Yeah.
of War game is going to be huge.
Hmm. That's true.
So, and Resident Evil, I don't think Resident Evil is a
Hmm.
Sony exclusive, but it's after Resident Evil 7 Biohazard was like put on PlayStation VR. I think Resident Evil has kind of formed a little bit of a closer association with PlayStation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you definitely think of Resident Evil when you think of or when you think of Sony or so. And I believe it was the PS5 reveal. They also showed off Resident Evil 8 there, so it got people like all hyped up and whatnot. They're like,
Hmm.
whoa, kind of putting the association together. So yeah, people probably will be a little more excited about those types of games, God of Wars and Resident Evils of the world out there coming out, as opposed to Deathloop. But
Right.
if
Which is,
anything, I'm sure this will serve them well, or they might even make a fan base because they delayed it and made it so good.
hmm yeah, I'd agree. I think that's the thing I've always been thinking about, actually, because yesterday I was thinking about this, but a lot of the times, because you and I were actually talking in our organization's Discord, and we were talking about like how games are hyped up and then they never measure up to the hype.
Hmm.
And I think 9 times out of 10, the games that end up being huge or gaining a massive following were like games that come out of nowhere, like
Yeah.
Fortnite. When Fortnite was just save the world, no one knew what Fortnite was. I'd never heard of it. Then they added the battle
Hmm.
royale, and boom, blew up, just huge. Even those things like PUBG had been around before that, and I think even before PUBG, there was another battle royale s game. Uh,
Yeah, like something. It was like something Z or whatever, but I do know what you're
H1Z1
talking about.
or something.
Yeah, H1Z1. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Hmm
no, Fortnite just I remember. No, I remember even hearing about it before it came out. Is I used to play this old MOBA on a PlayStation. And it was made by Epic Games, and they had plans to keep funding it, depending on how successful their next game was. And I was curious. I was like, what's their next game? And then they kept like every time you'd start up the game, they would like shove this stupid little trailer. Right? I thought it was stupid at first.
Hmm.
It was Fortnite. And I'm like, this game looks so lame. Like, they better not stop funding this game because of it. And then eventually, I get like a message. I'm playing in like,
Hmm.
you know, like maybe September or so. Fortnite's slowly starting to pick up in 2017. It's like, hey, this is about the last like few weeks or so. Paragon, like we're gonna put our
Hmm.
focus into Fortnite. We hope to see you there, and then yeah, you know how things went from there
Oh
with
yeah,
Fortnite. So
dude, I remember. So I've heard from my younger sister. She was in high school when Fortnite blew up. I had just started my first year of college, but she told me like everybody in high school was talking about it, playing it. I remember I was living in a dorm on campus because it was my first year at USC, and people like all of a sudden, everybody on my dorm floor would start going to someone's room to play this game, like to play Fortnite.
yep.
And I had never heard of it. I was like, "What are these?" And they would just go in there, watch someone play it. They'd play it themselves. I watched people play it. Two of my suite mates, they both downloaded it and were playing it all the time. And I was just like, "What the heck, man? This game came from nowhere." And it just goes to show
Mhm.
that, like, and it's crazy how big Fortnite is, right? Because you think like they do all these tie-ins with like DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Star Wars. They got Keanu Reeves in there. Like
Yep.
it
Mhm.
doesn't even matter anymore. It just seems like anything can be in Fortnite at this point, and it's insane. And it's pretty cool,
Yeah.
honestly. I think a lot of people hate Fortnite just because of how big it's become, which is inevitable, right? Anytime something becomes massively popular like that, people are inevitably going to be like, "I hate this now." But it's still
Yeah.
pretty cool. I mean, but
Yeah. No, it's really interesting, honestly, just to see how big it's blown up and just the audience it still has today in 2021.
hmm so that's why it just goes to show you the games that are legendary, like they come out of they to me they always come out of nowhere. They never like hyped up online most of the time. They just bam, they're there, and you're like, what the heck? Just
Yep.
like
Yep. So
yeah,
maybe Deathloop does that.
maybe maybe it does. But anyways, the final story we have is one that I do not like at all. But it's EA has apparently successfully patented their quote unquote adaptive difficulty system. And
Uh,
I'll say full disclosure, I have not read the patent. I'm sure you can go online to the U.S. Patent Office, whatever it's called, that part of the government, and read what the patent is, because they have to submit it. It has to be publicly available and everything. So but apparently, this is a patent for a difficulty system that will analyze how good or bad a player is at a game, and then it will adjust the difficulty accordingly.
hmm.
And to me, that is never a good idea at all. Uh, period. Like even if you like let's say maybe it makes the experience a little bit better for you. I don't like a game changing the difficulty for me without my consent to it, right? Like without me opening the menu and changing the difficulty myself. Because
Yeah.
what if you think like, "Wow, I suck at this game," and you're trying to get better, and then you start thinking you're getting better, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm getting better at the game," and then you find out it's because the game actually made it easier for you. How would you feel?
Mm. Yeah, honestly, I'm not a fan of this at all because, like you said, if I'm playing a game and I pick a difficulty, I either pick it because, like, if you're trying to enjoy a game, you pick a difficulty you know you can enjoy the game at, whether that's regular, easy,
Hmm.
hard, whatever. And if you're trying to challenge yourself, you pick a difficulty you know you can challenge yourself with, whether that's the highest difficulty or whatever, or not. So to have a difficulty like this, like you said, where you might be struggling at first, and then all of a sudden, uh, it's like, wow, I'm just breezing through. But little did you know, like, let's say it made the jump from hard to regular, and you couldn't tell because you never once like consciously changed the difficulty. It changed itself, just it's almost like giving you a participation trophy because you didn't
Yeah.
actually beat the game on the difficulty you thought you beat it at. So that's a little um, that's a little weird. I don't know how that's gonna work in their. I feel like it's mostly gonna be like a story mode type thing, but I could see it maybe working somewhat in their online service. I don't know. Maybe it'll like help with like this skill based matchmaking if that works somehow. But
Yeah. I was reading. I think I've seen this patent come up before. It was either this patent or an Activision patent that was somewhat similar. Like Activision, I remember there was in the Call of Duty community there was huge backlash because of this patent that Activision was supposedly filing for that would allow them to like change things like how accurate your gun was and stuff depending on your performance. Uh,
hmm
and then people were like, "Oh, well, this wouldn't be added to multiplayer. This is just for a campaign or PVE." And I'm like, "That's still dog shit. Like that's still horrible because I mean, for me personally, I like playing first person shooters for the multiplayer, but I really love like older shooters where it's more about having fun killing like aliens or demons, whatever game it is, you know. It's always something like that, but you're just using fun weapons and such. So it's like, and those campaign-esque experiences, which we would call them campaigns now because they don't have multiplayer, even though technically that was all the FPS genre was like 20 years ago. But like
hmm
they have difficulty modes, and you pick which difficulty you want to play on when you start. And for some people like me, playing through them on an easier difficulty is still not fun. Like even if this was just for something only in like a story mode or a campaign or something, to me that's still horrible because like what if I want to play at this difficulty and then only stay at that difficulty? I don't want the easier experience because and it's like nowadays you'll have games that have when you select a difficulty mode, they will tell you explicitly this mode is for people who just want to play through the story. I think that's the better way to do it. Let people choose on their own. You don't need like this adaptive difficulty system because all I see it doing is being abused. And apparently they've already faced like a class action lawsuit for this because they apparently used it to make players spend, or they supposedly used it to make players spend more money on microtransactions for Ultimate Team modes in FIFA or Madden. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, so I do keep up a little bit with that because I happen to play the Ultimate Team mode on NBA 2K, which is not on EA, but I do hear the complaints for FIFA a lot because they like to compare those two, as well as Madden. There's nothing good ever comes out whenever they're talking about that. I mean, they're just talking about how like you might be going against someone and let's say you're trying to grind offline, so not against a real person, and all of a sudden it's really difficult and you spend those extra dollars, you buy those cool packs, and you either end up not getting anyone, or you get those players, and you're like, oh wow, I got this player, and then all of a sudden you can beat the person. And you're like, wow, that's weird. How you can, just one character. I mean, on a team of like 11 in soccer and football, it's like what 50 something
Hmm.
makes the difference. And it's like, wow, but to get that one person, you probably shelled out like 20, 40, $100. It's just and that's if you're lucky too, because a lot of people, holy smokes, I've heard stories they shell out a bunch of money just because they're like grinding for something offline or something online. It's not nearly as much of a problem online, I'm sure, but I'm sure offline they're gonna do the opposite with that difficulty system where they see how well you're playing
Hmm.
and then they're gonna up the difficulty so then you want to get those micro transactions. You want to buy those new packs because
Hmm.
otherwise you can't beat it. So I can see this being a problem for
Hmm.
offline campaign modes and for offline multiplayer modes.
Yeah, I that's what I was thinking too. Because I when I read that, I vaguely remember a story. I think you're right. I think what it was is they were adjusting the game difficulty supposedly that if you didn't buy the microtransactions, it would be harder, and then after you bought some, they would make it easier to make it seem like buying them helped you get better at the game to kind of encourage the behavior of, oh, I should keep buying more loot boxes, whatever, to keep getting the better players and keep making my team better because that's the only way I can get better at the game or something. I think that's what they were
Yeah.
doing, and that is
Mhm.
I can't even put into words how egregiously awful that is. Like I
Oh,
can't
it's
even.
scummy. Yeah, it's so bad. I hate companies that are like that.
Yeah, and it's not even just a problem with sports games. Like so one of the things I'll point to is Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Both those games, and Black Ops 3 still to this day, sadly, they have all the DLC weapons that were added post launch are locked behind loot boxes. And
Ah,
so
come
what they
on.
do, what Activision does, is they fill the loot pool with all these horrible like calling cards, cosmetics, face paint, sprays, whatever. They just
Mhm.
fill the loot pool with all that garbage so that whenever you actually get a loot box in the game, the chances of you getting a weapon are so astronomically rare it's not even funny. And
Yeah.
it's so sad because I remember I was playing Black Ops 4 and I got a loot box while playing because you just earn them as you play. And
Yeah.
I opened it and I got the ballistic knife, which
Mm.
and I was like, wow, that's rare as fuck. I'm really lucky. And then I went on YouTube, and this YouTuber I watched, he made a video where he was like, I spent $1,000 to get the ballistic knife in Black Ops 4. And I was like, that's so fucked. That's so,
Yeah.
like, it's on him, but at the same time, it's like, I got that just completely luck of the draw, and he had to spend like $1,000 on loot boxes to get it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've seen so many videos for pretty much the same thing in NBA 2K, where I guess in place of a gun, it's like brand new character, best character in the game, and they make them leagues above like people that you can just grind for free offline. Um,
Hmm.
and this what actually it was I forget what happened. There was like this one set of packs where multiple big YouTubers spent thousands, like literally, it was just clickbait shit. Like I spent $1,000, see what I got. None of them got the card, and then one of them was like, "I'm gonna spend money until I get it." I think he spent like $2,200, and then he got the card.
Wow.
It was
It,
not
it's
not a fan.
it's the same thing with Call of Duty too. Like the DLC guns you get out of the loot boxes are like god tier. Like they're
Yeah.
way better than most of the default weapons that are in the game. And
Uh,
for Black Ops 4 at least, I remember when Black Ops 4 came out, Treyarch were like, we're not gonna add in any loot boxes. We're not doing what we did in BO3 again. And then like a month after the game came out, they're like, okay, we're locking all the weapons in loot boxes.
oh my god! Of
And
course they did.
yeah, I mean, and I don't blame Treyarch because Treyarch, I've read about it before. When it comes to like content that's released, the developers make the content, but the publishers are the ones who decide how that's distributed, like sales wise, like like how you
Yeah.
buy it or how you get it.
Mhm.
That's what they decide. So I'm pretty sure what happened there is Activision saw the sales numbers for loot boxes in Black Ops 4 and were like, people aren't buying enough. Put guns in them because we need people to buy them, and that's what happened. Because now it's not enough to have one of the best-selling franchises in the games industry right now, right? Call of Duty. It's not enough to own that IP and release a new game every year, which is already
Yeah.
destroying the quality of the games. It's not enough anymore to make charge $60 or $70 for it and have like millions of people buy it. They have to keep monetizing, getting more money off of it afterward.
Yep. No, it's kind of stupid. I mean, it's microtransactions for the games that do have them. I'm sure Activision and Blizzard and 2K, or I know for 2K's case, I'm sure this is the same for them. It's
Mhm.
like that's where most of their money comes from, not from the where people actually buy the game, not from those sales. Sure, that gives a lot of money, but like it's from the people that buy those loot boxes over and over again. So I feel like
Mhm.
they're probably thinking a month in, like, we're not making that cash we normally make in our first month. Let's drop loot boxes, and they probably saw
Right.
uh, sales rocket.
Right. Because, I mean, just like the film industry, music industry, I mean, video games are, I believe, at least, art. Like, they're
Yeah.
created by millions, like, I mean, not millions, like hundreds of people have to put their heart and soul into it. There's so many different skills, professions that go into creating a game. So it is
Mhm.
art, but it's all made to make money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's all. I
Mhm.
mean, just like films and music, you know, there's a whole industry where producing that thing is made for money. And I just want to make it clear, like, I don't have a problem with microtransactions as long as
Exist.
it's, yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah, just microtransactions existing.
yeah. Because if you look at a business model like Fortnite, Fortnite is a free to play game, but Epic needs money to maintain and upkeep their servers. Need money to, fund all the tie-ins they pay for, because those don't just come free of charge. They have to sign
Yeah.
contracts, and then they have to pay their developers to keep making, will keep, adding more code and such to the game to make everything function, add new features, add new gameplay mechanics. They have to pay people to make the skins, right?
Hmm.
There's so much money they have to spend to keep that game going, and it has to come from somewhere. You can't just give a game for free. So,
Yeah, that's true.
right. So the microtransactions help subsidize all of that. That's And even if you think about that, there's not a lot of players that actually buy them who play Fortnite. Most players, guarantee you, are just people that log on and play for free. But there are those small groups of players that will buy a lot of stuff, and that's what really fuels the entire game. Which, when you think about it, how big Fortnite is and how long it's been going and everything they keep adding in, those that small number of players, at least compared to the larger player base as a whole, they're like keeping everything going, which is kind of insane to think about. You know?
Oh yeah, no, and I think it would be it wouldn't be like ridiculous to say that that group is probably a lot larger than it is for normal player bases, just because of all the cool tie-ins they have. So a
Yeah.
lot of people are might like, oh, maybe today I just spend a quick 20 on this, or the
Yeah.
people that buy the battle pass, because if you play it a lot, it's just $10 for the
Yeah.
battle pass, and you will make your money back because you get back the little the currency that you use to buy things. You make it back plus I think like 100 or 200 of that currency, so you make a
Right.
little more. So it's like, all right, $10. If I grind out this entire season, I'll make back my money and then some, and then you can buy the next battle pass for free, or at least that's the idea. And
Yeah.
it doesn't look like much, but again, it's a free to play game. $10 in a free to play game. You play it a ton,
Mm-hmm.
no reason not to. But yeah, I am totally fine with those systems because like they reward you for if in the case of the battle pass, they reward you for playing the game and for paying as well. And it's a free to
Right.
play game, so $10 for it's like saying like you assuming you've grinded out every single season from the start. If you paid only $10 for the first battle pass, that's it. You paid first $10 and you've been able to get every single battle pass, and then at this point you've saved up enough to buy like one good skin or two.
Right. It it's the problem for me is when it comes to like games like Call of Duty that are
Yeah.
already 60 $70. So they're not free to
Hmm.
play. You're already paying 60 to $70. And then on top of that, now they to like, get more content, you're having to pay more money, in a
Yeah.
microtransaction store that is just filled with cosmetics, or in the case of, other games, guns and loot boxes. Now, obviously,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I just agreeing.
yeah. And, sometimes or at least more recently with Modern Warfare and Cold War, it's gotten better because all the DLC maps are free now,
Hmm.
too. So I would say they've gotten a lot better than they did back like 2 years ago. There's been a lot of an improvement, but you know, but as far as the free to play games that follow the business model, nothing wrong with that. And I don't even. I think a lot of people, at least people who vehemently hate the existence of microtransactions, just like don't like them at all. I think they really judge people who buy them harshly, like really harshly. But it's like you were saying, like, what if you just play Fortnite? casually. Maybe what if you're just like someone who works throughout the week? You come home, you play Fortnite every night, you go to bed, you go to work, and then one day you're just like, oh well, you know what? I worked really hard this week, so why don't I just spend like $10 and get the skin I really like? I mean, what's wrong with
Hmm.
that? You know what I mean? It's your money. You decide what to do with it.
Exactly. I mean, if it's something you enjoy, it's a game you play a ton, and sure, it doesn't improve your performance, but it improves like how much you enjoy the game. Because then you get to play as a. In the case of all these collabs, I mean, you can play as like one of your favorite characters from another series now in Fortnite, and if you like both of them, that'd be pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool idea. You can play as like a superhero now, as like one of those skins.
Right.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Like if you told me, because I'm a fan of like Batman and DC Comics, and if you had told me 3 years ago that, oh hey, you'll eventually be able to play as Harley Quinn in Fortnite, I'd be like, get the fuck out. There's no way. But now
Yeah.
you can play as Harley Quinn in Fortnite, which
Mhm.
is ridiculous to me. So it is cool for that too when you like both Fortnite and then something else, one of the other IPs or franchises. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that was a pretty nice little discussion there. We kind of moved away from EA's patent, but I think the microtransaction discussion is always something interesting to talk about. Um,
Yeah.
but anyways, guys, that was all the stories for today. So thanks for tuning in and have an awesome week.